Okie dokie, welcome back, folks, to That's Just My Opinion. I am Merlin, and I am a masochist because I decided to listen to Grey by E.L. James. The 50 Shades of Grey as told by Christian. Oh boy. Okay, so I'm going to give the barest synopsis here because it's 50 Shades of Grey. Again, like my Twilight reviews, I'm a little late to the party on this one. Everybody and their brother has done this to death. So, as we know, 50 Shades and Grey are the story of Anastasia Steele meeting billionaire playboy, he's not a playboy, but billionaire Christian Grey, and him introducing her to the world of BDSM and their super messed up relationship that follows. And yes, this was based off of a Twilight fanfiction originally. So, listening to this book from Christian's perspective, I was curious. Like, I wanted to know. I wanted to be inside his head. Like, what was this dude thinking when everything was going down? Like, what was his thoughts as imagined by E.L. James? Okay, first off, Christian falls into a trope I have noticed in these romance novels, and I'm calling it the bored billionaire. It is this super attractive, charming, rich as hell guy who is just bored with life and full of ennui, and just nothing gives him pleasure anymore until this woman, this manic pixie dream girl, comes into his life and inspires him to do whatever. Yeah, it's really old and really tired in my opinion. So yeah, this follows all, I mean, it's literally 50 Shades of Grey from Christian's perspective. So this is really going to be more of a dissection on Christian and the messed upness that is in his head. So yeah, Christian still does the same thing when he sees Anna. He's like, oh, she's just this mousy little nobody. But then he gets inexplicably attracted to her. Again, Freud called, and Oedipus is also going, dude, you got issues. But he doesn't acknowledge any of that. They have their fling, which, one, I am not into the BDSM lifestyle, but from what I know about the lifestyle and everything, this is a horrible, horrible representation of what BDSM is. Just because Christian keeps pushing Anna to do the BDSM stuff when she's obviously not into it. He just keeps pushing her to do it because he's like convinced himself, and again in his own head, that if she just does it, she'll get into it. Like, she just needs to just give into it and just do it, and she'll be into it and she'll like it. And I'm like, dude, the girl is not into it. It's your kink, not hers. And he just can't seem to wrap his brain around that. Also, the dude is such a hypocrite when it comes to his relationship with Elena, aka Mrs. Robinson, aka the woman who seduced him at age 15 and made him her submissive. He is like, every time Anna gets at least a little bit upset by his relationship with her, that he still has a relationship with her. Like, they're still friends, they still talk. He's just like, why is she getting mad about this? She doesn't understand our relationship. It's not like that. It wasn't bad. But she so much as thinks about another man, or another man so much as looks at her, and he's just like, jealous. Ah. It's so, so bad. And everything in his mentality is just about what makes him feel good, what's for me. He never, ever takes into her feelings or anything. It's all about, like, there's points where she's uncomfortable with something about her own body, whatever it is, and he's like, well, it doesn't matter, it doesn't bother me. I'm like, dude, it's not about you, it's about her. She is the one who is uncomfortable. Oh my god, respect your partner's boundaries. And that's the thing, he does not respect any of her own personal boundaries. It's so bad. And also, just re-listening to this, it's too long. It is too freaking long. This book is like 18 hours long for the audiobook. it needs to be about half of that because one, way too many sex scenes. The sex scenes just get boring and repetitive and not enjoyable to listen to at all. The other thing, again, listening to the audiobook is listening to the emails be read off is just the to Christian Grey subject I mean literally reading it off every single time, and these emails will come like 5 or 6 in a row, and it's just listening to it every single time. It's like, oh my god, I want to shoot myself listening to this. And uh yeah, that was not an enjoyable factor to listen to this. And the other thing that I listening to the ending of this book, when the whole spanking happens and Anna walks out on Christian, it seems like E.L. James heard all of the criticisms about Christian and everything and decided to do a little retroactive, no, 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 this is what actually is going on, because he starts having all of this like, oh, what did I do? I screwed up. I made this mistake. And I'm like, everything up to this point, I don't believe this guy has the emotional capacity to understand that he is the one that made the mistake. And also just his obsession with the rules and the punishment aspect of everything. It just, oh, it's so creepy. And the like control he wants over Anna. I'm like, she is her own person, dude. Let her be her own person. It's so creepy. And another scene that happened in this book that made me just go, oh, we're doing this again, is the contract. And I don't mean that they talk about the contract, that they discuss it. I mean, literally, they read the contract out verbatim in this book again, which I'm like, one, you don't need to do that for context because Christian is the one that wrote this. You don't have to do that. Most of the time, if someone is reading this book, it's because they've already read 50 Shades of Grey. They remember the highlights of the contract and all its disgusting nature. So and it was like literally, and I remember this in 50 Shades too, when they read the contract, it is just literally the contract. There is no thoughts or opinions from the characters the entire time this contract is being read. And I was like, why isn't there some interjection from the characters? Sorry, I know this review is kind of all over the place because I'm not going through this linearly. I just, I have to get my thoughts out about this because it is honestly disturbing to listen to Christian like rationalize some of this stuff. And oh, he's so creepy and it is so bad. I mean, literally, there were scenes that were making my skin crawl. His complete disregard for Anna as a person. Also, he never really, the only things he likes about her is her physical body, like how she looks, and her smart mouth, and that she can be witty over emails. Like, other than that, he never really talks about anything else about her. Like, they don't know anything about each other, really. Like, they don't have I don't think they have a single conversation that isn't about the contract or sex or Christian's damage. Like, they never just talk about, their likes, dislikes, interests, anything like that. It's like, what do you honestly know about each other? A relationship is more than just boinking. Also, Christian and his, like, I don't do vanilla, I don't do normal relationships, yet he has no problem doing normal stuff. He constantly says like it's a big deal that he's doing things he's never done before, but we never internally see him struggle with any of this. It just still comes to him supernaturally because he is just so perfect, even though he's not. And it's just, oh, it's so bad. And he's just like, Anna makes so many concessions for him, and that it's like he does the tiniest thing for her, and he's like, yeah, I'm amazing for that. And I'm like, dude, no, you're not. No, you're not. So I'm going to keep this pretty brief just because, yeah, it's 50 Shades of Grey from Christian's perspective, and it is just diving into the mind of a sociopath, and it is not good. I do think that there was the potential for something interesting and something compelling. Definitely would have been on the darker side for a romance novel, but I still think there could have been something interesting in this, but it's not, because E.L. James doesn't think she's writing something dark. She thinks she's writing a classic romance novel when she's not. So Gray, um, I honestly, if you guys watched my Mr. review, and I'll leave a link to that, I will give this worse than the Mister. I honestly think this is worse than the Mister, and the Mister was pretty freaking bad. So, yeah, not a fan, but hey, that's just my opinion. If you disagree with me, that's totally cool. And leave your comments down below if you'd like to see me take a crack at something in particular in the future. There may be a slight derail from our normal segments of romance novels. I am a fan of high fantasy novels as well, and for those of you who may not be aware, Brandon Sanderson just released book 4 of the Stormlight Archives, Rhythm of War. So I am debating listening to that next instead of another romance novel, but we'll see. I haven't quite worked it out yet. So you will have that at some point. I will be giving my thoughts on Rhythm of War. So that's all for now, and I will talk to you guys in a little while.